Thank you for joining the ACA Small Business Bootcamp and Resource Collective for this Thursday, September 3rd. We're excited to have you here for this session. I am Robert Theobald, the Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services at the Arizona Commerce Authority. We want to first start by thanking all of our community partners. These bootcamp sessions could not be done without their expertise, their support, and their time, so we very much appreciate all of them. And this is just a small list of all the community partners that we have. We've got over 75 community partners that have helped with the bootcamp sessions, and we very much appreciate their support. So the Small Business Bootcamp and Resource Collective is designed to help small businesses work through the COVID crisis. It is a statewide initiative supported by our community partners throughout the state. And the bootcamp is going to continue on through September and into October on a twice-a-week cadence, Tuesdays and Thursdays through September, and same into October. And the Small Business Bootcamp, on the page you use to register for the session, you can find a lot of other information. All the previous webinars have been recorded and are available to review on those sessions on that website. So you can go back if you want to look at some of the early stuff on week one, you can go back and review that. If you're looking for some of the social media marketing we've done, you can go back and find those sessions that have been recorded along with the slide decks that have been provided. Additionally, on that website, you can find our link to the Resource Collective. And the Resource Collective are the tools and resources and guides that have been provided by our community partners to help support small businesses during this time. This is just a sample list of some of those guides and resources that are available. Restaurant guides, unemployment insurance guides, guidance for barbershops and cosmetologists, manufacturing, construction. There's guides for all different types of business and industries, so you can find them there. So a real quick note about next week's sessions. We've got the National Safety Council is going to be back on with us. They were partners with us early on, and they're coming back to share some safety issues and things that they've learned thus far through the COVID crisis, and give us some updates there. And then on Thursday, we have a great session with APS, Arizona Public Services, and a new business tool that they are providing for small businesses throughout the state. They are launching this tool called Size Up Arizona, and we're going to go through training on how businesses can use this and access this tool set and analytics set to help grow your business. It's a tool set that is normally available to big business, but APS is making it available to small business to help them have this advantage in their growth. Also, some quick updates. This week lists round 6 of the Small Business Relief Grant went live, and it is open until September 7th. The Maricopa County Small Business Grant Phase 2 is currently open, and the Economic Disaster Injury Loan Program is still active and open for applications if you did not currently apply. If you did apply for an economic injury disaster loan and you're still waiting to hear something or not sure of the status, please contact the SBA through their customer service number that you can find on this website. Also, another reminder for all things COVID-19 and for information and resources through the state, we have the ArizonaTogether.org website. And then for business resources, you can find information on our ArizonaCommerce.com/COVID-19 business resources page. This page also has information on reopening and what the different requirements are in the different counties where you're at to be able to reopen. So a lot of great information can be found on this site. Real quickly want to remind everybody and mention the different services that are available to small businesses through the Arizona Commerce Authority. We have our Small Business Services Division, and we can help support navigating the SBA, working with the small business development centers, local banking contacts, and different updates and resources around the state. Our Workforce Division can work with employers looking to hire employees or looking to train or upskill their employees. They have programs that can help with that. And then our Arizona MEP, our Manufacturing Extension Partnership, can help work you with manufacturers through whatever their needs are, A to Z, whether it's hiring, whether it's remodeling their facility, respacing machining, we're doing lean training, et cetera. Arizona MEP can help with those programs. Additionally, in this time, we've got a lot of people looking to pivot themselves in their careers and start their own business. And we have our small business checklist that can help with that. It is an online interactive tool to help you understand the licensing, registration, compliance pieces, both locally at the state level and the federal level. So today we've got Brett Gilliland with us. Brett is a co-founder and CEO of Elite Entrepreneurs. He also spent a lot of time with Infusionsoft as they were growing and developing. And to show the energy that he's got, we've got a little note down here in his bio that he has 8 kids, keeping him busy. We all know right now with lots of kids at home doing schoolwork from home can be a challenge. So we appreciate Brett being here with us today and taking the time to share his expertise with us. So Brett, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you and let you get started.
Well, thank you, Robert. And I don't know if having 8 kids is evidence of having energy. That's more like reasons for being exhausted, in my opinion. But I'll try to overcome that and bring as much energy as I have for you guys. I'm thrilled to be here. I just am super impressed with all the resources. And actually, I want to tell all of you who don't know the team at the ACA the care behind those resources. I've met with these folks, not just in coordinating for this call, but over the years. They genuinely care about businesses in Arizona, and in particular for this audience, the small businesses, not just the bigger businesses with the big dollars and the deep pockets and all the rest, but they care about you. And I'm impressed with this series that they put together over the last several months, and that's continuing on into September and October. I'm honored to be part of that today. So let me share my slides and we'll get into the material. Let me just say, I'm probably one of the more informal presenters that you guys will ever come across. I'll use the term presenter because I do have some material for you today, but I'd much rather this be as interactive as we can make it, knowing there's limitations to that with a Zoom meeting that's set up this way. But I'm just telling you the spirit with which I come to you is more of an exchange. And so to get that started, I'd love for you to pull up the chat box and let us know what part of the state you're dialing in from. So I'm in the Phoenix area. I'm in the East Valley. Would love to know what part of the Phoenix area or what part of the state you're dialing in from. And I love seeing some people already chiming in on that. So thank you, Michael and Christopher, for jumping right in on that. Appreciate that. And we'll love to see the rest of those responses coming in. We're going to talk today about how to attract and retain customers during COVID-19. Similar to the ACA, I serve small businesses, but a segment of them. Specifically, I serve those businesses that are going from $1 million to 10 million, that 7-figure business range. And right when the pandemic hit, it was kind of like, if you guys are familiar with the Phoenix area, we get those haboobs periodically where the dust just rolls in and the visibility goes to near zero, right? And sometimes if it's bad enough. Well, that's kind of what happened for all of us as business owners when the pandemic hit. Visibility went really low. We couldn't see very far. Everything was shaken up. And so like the ACA, we jumped into a mode of serving our audience, our members, our community of business owners, and started to do calls like this. And so we didn't do them every day like the ACA did for a time, but we did them a couple times a week. And I did that for a couple months. And one of the more popular sessions from that back in, April, May timeframe was this one on how to attract and retain customers during COVID-19. So I only give that as a backdrop because I'm acknowledging that a few months have passed, right? Maybe the dynamic has shifted a little bit for you. Maybe the visibility has changed some, gotten a little bit better. But I'm going to share several live or real case studies from real business owners doing it, just like all of you out there figuring it out. And you will see principles applied. That's what I'm trying to get at. You'll see underlying principles or truths that you can apply today, even if they feel 2 or 3 months older, right? So let's jump into it. I think you'll see there's a ton of value here for you. All right. So your primary responsibility as a leader is to set the vision. And I just got done saying, well, when the visibility goes to near zero, it's kind of hard to set the vision. But people who you lead are still looking to you for that direction. They need to be sure about where we're heading together. So your number one responsibility is to set the vision. The other two responsibilities that you have are to build the team, which during COVID-19 feels a little bit more like secure the team, settle the team, reassure the team, try to protect the team, right? But that's still your responsibility. And then secure fuel for growth or cash. And most of us naturally went there, right? We went into cash preservation mode. How much runway are we going to have? How do we extend that runway? What do I need to do around the PPP loan? Anything we could do to figure out the cash piece, we were all over that. So these roles are your roles as the leader. You can't really delegate these very well to anybody else. They're yours. Today, we're going to talk about securing cash through getting and keeping customers. All right. And securing a PPP loan or other ways of financing your business during this difficult time is important. But the very best way to fuel your company's operations is through sales. And so we want to get and keep customers even if the environment is challenging. I'm going to start off with actually a home reference here. If you've done any driving around the valley, the Phoenix area, you probably recognize Mark and Alexis Breyer. They're up on billboards. They show up in TV spots and radio ads. They're pretty active in the community. Shouldn't say pretty active. They're very active in the community. One of the very first things that Mark and Alexis did when the pandemic hit, and even though we're several months into it now, you can and should do something similar if you haven't. This is what they did. Right on their website, had a pop-up come up that I just enabled with by advancing my slide, a note from Mark and Alexis. And I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but there's a statement of commitment, trying to settle down people. Hey, if you're concerned about working with our team, our commitment is to your health and safety, number one, right? And everybody was saying something like that, but I promise if you haven't signaled to your audience that you're gonna do everything you can to make sure they're safe, and that you're gonna be operating still so that you can provide the valuable products or services that the market needs from you during this time. So for them, it made sense back in March, April to say, hey, now offering, right? We didn't do this before, but now we can meet via video conference. And, by the 100th Zoom meeting we've all had since then, we're all much more comfortable with it. But at the time, it wasn't as acceptable to just hop on a call, right? Hop on a Zoom meeting and have the interaction that's needed. So they really underscored, without leaving your home, you can get a hold of us. We can do the work that needs to be done, right? Video, text, chat. You're going to have the support you need from an experienced injury lawyer right now. You don't have to wait for it until everything frees up. We can take care of you, right? So that's a simple example, but they were able to maintain their level of engagement with prospect by signaling right on their homepage. All right, next example I'm going to give you is not from Arizona, but is from one of our members. This is from the business owner is Tammy Weiler, but her business is Singles Travel International. Now, I don't know how many of you have a business where the revenue just dropped like completely to the floor. But if you owned a company that organized and led cruise experiences for older singles, you might imagine how the cruise business went away like overnight, right? All of that revenue went away. Now, that doesn't mean it'll never come back, but for the past several months, it hasn't come back. And so Tammy and her team had to really scramble and pivot. So what they did was really get clear on what was relevant. What was the core thing that they were delivering to the market? And what they realized is it's live connections, and that they could do some of that virtually still. So they did virtual lunch in Greece, and a virtual vacation on a 5-masted sailing ship, and virtual birthday bashes and CEO updates. But they did all of this in their community efforts, via Zoom, via their community platform, to keep people engaged. And they even created and sold memberships, VIP membership packages, so that when travel frees up again, those who are willing to engage and purchase now would get benefits that others would not. I just talked with Tammy the other day. 5 months in, she's running out of cash, right? Understandably, the revenue hasn't been strong enough. So she and her team launched last month a new website. I put it down here in case any of you are over 50 and single, but singlelife.today. And this, the whole purpose on this is to get people connecting, which is at the core of what they do. So what I'm inviting you to do, even if the market for your product or service completely dried up, what was the core thing that you were delivering, the core value element you're delivering to your prospects, to your customers, and how can we deliver that in a new way? And in Tammy's case with Singles Travel International, there was one initial pivot to go online and try to maintain some of those connections. But then there was an additional pivot just this last month around a new business, okay? Related business, but a new business. So hopefully some of these ideas are landing for you. Remember, try to get rid of the logos and the specific circumstances and look at the underlying principles that you might apply to your own situation. All right, next example. I'd be shocked if any of you on this call haven't seen one of these vehicle parades, right? And I think over time, those were sort of discouraged in some states around the country. They were told not to do them anymore. But early on, we saw things like this. How can we engage? The principle here is, how can we still have connection with our prospects and customers, even if we can't have those connections in our store or our brick and mortar operation where people come in and talk to us? How can we maintain some of these connections? So this is one from one of our members in Connecticut who their little guy was in a really great school. They loved the school, but now they couldn't go to school. And so the teachers and the administrators would come by and make sure that all of the students still felt the connection from them as they were trying to live in a new reality. Okay, next example for you is from a company called Maine Cottage out of Maine. They did something where they had these specialized people, right? These interior designers who had a really important skill, talent, and people in normal times would come into their showroom, their creative design space, and work in person with these designers. Well, when COVID hit, we said, hey, we know we've got to keep social distancing or sheltering in place, and so you can't come in, but over Zoom, we can still meet with you, and we can even see into your space, and we can recommend some colors and some patterns. So we're going to give you an initial design session with one of our talented interior designers for free, and that will help you create some plans to improve your space. So anything that you could do to take your current expertise and deliver it in a new way is the principle here. Love this example. This one's actually out of Texas. It's called Communion Neighborhood Cooperative. Think of this as a restaurant / coffee shop / co-work space out of Richardson, Texas. And the restaurant aspect was, understandably shut down, like many of us experienced. And so what they did was think through, how can we continue to deliver the core thing that we deliver? And for them, that was food. And so they created a way for a family to buy a weekly subscription for a meal, 1 meal a week as a subscription. And because they were so involved and connected in the community, they also created a way for people in the community to give back. And so for every 4 meals that people signed up for, they would be giving 1 subscription away to a needy family in the community, right back into the community there. So their goal was to be serving 500 meals a week to families. They would sell 400 of those and give 100 of those back into the community where it was needed. Super cool to think about the connection, not only the pivot from, restaurant-based delivery of food to subscription-based delivery of food to a family, but then the added benefit of we're gonna give back to our community in a way. Excuse me, because we're all in this together right now. Let's figure out how to get through it. Right? They really had a message of we can come together and help people in need right here in our community. So I thought that was a really great example I wanted to share with all of you. By the way, as we go through this, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll do my best to watch them, but Robert said he could also watch those and draw them to my attention. I'll definitely leave some time at the end for Q&A, but we can also have a dialogue here as we go. All right, so let me see if this is working out for you guys. Go to the chat box and just type in a yes if any of the examples I've shared with you have provided a new insight for you or something that you might be able to do to benefit your business. You can type in a no or a not yet if you haven't seen anything yet that sparks an idea. Okay, and I won't be offended. I'm just trying to gauge. So thank you, Tara, Jessica. Possibly. All right, I'll accept a possibly. Thank you, David. Okay, so thank you for the feedback on that. I have several more examples to give. So if you haven't seen something yet, hang in there with me. We're going to give you some more. All right, next example. I'll get my slide to go. Next example comes from a guy named Vern Harnish. Some of you may have read his book. It's called Scaling Up. Now, Vern may focus on larger companies than many of you are here today, but some of the principles, again, I think are spot on. So let's take some of the examples that he shares and see how we can apply them to our business. So Vern looked back to his own experience in 9/11 when everything came crashing down for him in his business. And he personally called and offered to each of his customers who would stay on board a discount to prepay for a year. Now, I know not all of you will have a subscription or membership model of some sort, but maybe you should consider having one. That's another idea, right? But if you did have a membership of some sort, is there a way to pull revenue in now that is a discount or a benefit to your customers if they give it to you? So if we prepay for a year, can we get a discount on that? Right? He also offered a bonus. He had a special level of membership that he called VIP. He said, if you do this prepayment of a year now to help us get through this difficult time, I'm going to bump you up to VIP status for life, right? For the life of your membership. Doesn't mean you never pay for a membership after that, but as long as you're paying to be a member in our program, you will be a VIP. There will be new benefits for you. So how can we bring cash in earlier? And how can we entice our members to want to do that? So I hope that's a little bit of an idea. So Vern also gathered up some case studies from his community that I'll share. But here's some wise counsel from Vern. He said, the storm has enveloped Everest. You can't see further in front of your nose. So the only thing is to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving. Up or down, but keep moving. That's really important. And I know you guys just have lived this for the last several months, so we're not like fresh on it as we were a few months back, but the principle still applies. If you feel like it's time to settle in or get comfortable, we've got to keep moving. The visibility may be improving, but it's not clear yet exactly what's going to happen in the long term. So we just keep moving. We make stuff happen 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. As far out as we can see, we make plans and then we execute it. And I love this point that he's making. Don't stop and watch all the negative news, okay? And I'm not saying stick your head in the ground and ignore life. I'm not saying that. But most of what's being fed to us is negativity. And I'm not putting a propaganda spin on this. There's an election year. There's a ton of racial tension, horrible things happening in our country. I'm not saying not to be aware of any of that. I am saying that if you're trying to stay positive and keep your team positive, I agree wholeheartedly with Vern's counsel here. Don't watch it, right? Keep tabs on, like figure out the right cadence. You need to keep enough awareness of what's going on in the market for your business, but then disconnect from as much negativity as possible. Got to help your team stay positive, got to stay focused and keep moving forward. Okay, so some more examples. Vern shared the next few examples. One is by a company named Timberlane. As you can see from the home side of their, the home page of their website, they produce custom exterior shutters and shutter hardware. That's their business. Well, guess what? They were about to lose that entire business and pivoted really quickly into personal protective equipment. Okay, shutters, personal protective equipment, they look completely disconnected, right? But if you have some core competencies, you've got a supply chain that will supply the materials needed. You have a manufacturing line, you have a team that can put stuff together. You can make pivots to provide a different thing with your core competencies. Okay, so they did it. They went from custom exterior shutters and the associated hardware to personal protective equipment almost overnight. They moved really fast. They saved their jobs. And actually grew some revenue. So really great example. Here's another one that Vern pointed out. It's called Flow. And the principle here, okay, this is several years old now, but the principle here is if you have an idea that needs cash, go get it through pre-orders or pre-sales, right? If you can't get somebody to back your idea, take it out there to one of these crowdsourced funding types of platforms where you can go and get people to order your thing before it exists, before you've actually made it. And so at a $600 price point, they pre-sold $12 million of their product in 30 days. Now, I acknowledge this is an extreme example, right? Most of us aren't going to go pre-sell $12 million of product in 30 days, but it's possible. That's the idea. The idea is that it's possible, and Flow isn't the only example of going to the market and saying, if you want this thing, order it now and pay for it, and then you can have it. And so you can fund your product development, your manufacturing through the market if you do it right. That's the principle. Okay, here's another one. I hope that you see this as a more simple example. Just a residential painter. Okay, residential painter over the years had gathered a bunch of before and after pictures with the intent to use that in their marketing. Well, we all know how the best intentions go sometimes. We get busy and the day-to-day demands of the business happen to us and we never do that thing. Well, COVID has provided and still for many of you can still provide an opportunity for you to go do some of these things that you've always wanted to do. So he took his photos out, he got on the phone and he called these people and he was able to do two things with this. Okay, please capture the nuggets out of these examples. So he called all of his customers from the past and said, hey, I would like to use the before and after pictures from the job I did on your home on my website. Are you open to that? Are you okay with that? And so, yes, most of them said yes. And oh, by the way, if you have any projects or you know somebody in your immediate circle or sphere of influence, anybody who's willing to pay now for work anytime in the next 12 months, I'll give them 25% off of that. So he was able to generate some repeat business and referral business by reaching out to these past customers and getting creative. And he cleaned up his website. His online presence looks a lot better today. So the buy now, save later tactic is a good idea to generate some cash, some sales, but also the idea of working on the business during this downtime to better enable your prospecting or your sales efforts, even in the near future. All right, now I've titled this slide, If a Landlord Can Do It. with the idea that any of us can do it. And the reason I think that, no offense to any of you who might be landlords, but if you think about a relationship that's always been adversarial since the beginning of time, right? It's this inherent conflict between somebody who has this asset called a house and somebody who needs a place to live, but can't or doesn't want to buy one, right? So they're sort of beholden to the asset holder's willingness to let them use that house for money every month. And so there's this collection thing that happens every month, and that obligation doesn't sleep, right? Well, this landlord got really creative. He had like 350 entries. Okay, so this is a landlord of several units, several houses. Anyway, he put together this contest to engage his customers, engage his audience. In this case, it was tenants. But he said, look, here's $1,000 prize for the most creative thing that comes out. And so it was a video contest. And here we have a tenant with like a Godzilla figure, and she's obviously not ready for work quite yet, but she put together a really fun and creative video. And not only did he get over 350 entries, but he saw an improvement in his collections over the previous month. That's the goal. Okay. So we want to engage people. We want them to know that we care. Maybe we inject a little bit of fun in this time that's a little bit scary for people. And for a lot of people, it's a lot bit scary, not just a little bit. So we can do this. We can come up with creative ways. Several of the companies that we work, and us included, that we work with, and us included, I threw our logos up here because all of these companies did events, like live events. Breathe Education is a Pilates instructor company out of Australia. Mathnasium, bottom right corner, they're a math tutoring company in the greater Denver area. And Brooklyn Music Factory, live music lessons. All of these businesses took their events, their prospect generating, their sales generating events, and they moved them online, like really fast. Now, I know several months have passed. Again, maybe this feels less relevant to you. Lots of companies have done stuff like this now, but I'm trying to encourage you, if you haven't made some of these pivots, to think of ways that we can reach out and connect with prospects and customers differently. That's the whole goal. All right.
Hey, Brett, we got a question that ties in with this perfect. So it's a good time to ask this one. It's from Diane. It says, I have a Zoom account and I'm comfortable with connecting online. Our biggest issue is the technology to reach new prospective clients. I spent a lot of my EDL loan on marketing, but haven't really gotten ROI yet.
All right. So Diane, I appreciate that question. So it's one thing to be engaging with prospects that you can get in front of, or customers that you have. It's another to be targeting or getting new prospects in, right? So let me just acknowledge the difference there, because most of what I've shared today are examples of how to interact with current prospects, current customers, not necessarily generate new prospects. And so I hear you on the marketing front. I guess my suggestions would be get out and get in front of them as best you can, right? Physically, it's hard to do that today, but where possible, if you can serve more people, the more you can serve, the better you're going to be in getting more attention right now. I'll use Robert and the ACA as an example. What did they do? They went to daily boot camp sessions for what was it, 2-3 months, Robert? And now you're going
3 months, yeah.
Yeah, now you're going to twice a week. But they're serving. They're just getting out there and providing value as much as possible. Now they're not a for-profit business the way that you and I are, Diane, but that the principle is sound. What do our people need out there? How can I give it to them as much as possible? So serving and helping right now as much as you can is a good one. I know that doesn't help with the funds that are running out from the EIDL loan, but it doesn't always cost a lot to do it. Okay, so you get out there and serve. Another way is through partnerships. So are there people who are serving the people that you are trying to get at, and how can you go help them accomplish what they're after? So partnerships is a good one. A lot of the money that we spend marketing, whether it's for Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or any other online marketing efforts, that can be really challenging to really get the customers right away. It takes time, lots of investment. And so I'm not trying to discourage you with that comment, but I know what it's like to go chase prospects with dollars and not have it yield anything. So I would advise, with any money or funds that you have left around that, to try small tests and see what's working, and then put more dollars towards that. But it's a lot of, I would say, a lot of community-based, hands-on, doing whatever you can to get in front of as many people. Opportunities to present on something like this. This is one of the things that I'm doing, right? Get out in front of a community and give as much value as you can, with the hopes that somebody on this call might go, oh, I like the way that Brett talks about that. I could see he had some things that maybe he could help me with, right? So that anything you can do to serve, work with partners, get out and do things for people is my best piece of advice on that in this setting. Thank you for the question, Diane.
And she just noted real quick on here again that she's joined several online networking groups. She got a LinkedIn campaign. She has life and health insurance, so she's trying to gear up for the fourth quarter for open enrollment opportunities. So, and she's attended some live networking events down in Tucson. So
yeah, so I think that being that active, that engaged, is spot on. I think the only point I'll underscore again, Diane, is in those efforts. So it sounds like you're showing up to the right places, in front of the right people. How can you bring value to them in a way that they can't ignore you? Like, wow, Diane is showing up big time, right? Because of what she brings in value, not the promise of what she could bring with her product or service, but the way that you're showing up and helping. Okay. And I can't think of a different way of saying that. So if you're bringing value to them, you're going to be top of mind. And I love that you're gearing up for those annual renewal conversations and opportunities to help as many people as possible, but give them a reason to pay attention to you over others. All right. Some of the projects you were going to, so if you have extra downtime, we've already talked about this a little bit, but some of the projects you were going to do someday, now's the time for that, especially if you've had to scale back team. And I feel for you and the team members involved, it's painful, right? This is not a time you want to be letting people go. But some of you, in order to keep your business afloat, have had to cut expenses, including some of your people. And while you're leaner and meaner, and you have a little bit more time, you're doing all the creative things to go back and get customers, but you're also working on building the future capabilities of your business. Maybe you can create new products or services. Maybe you can establish or renew business development relationships. For the team members that are still here, cross-training so that everybody can chip in where needed, when needed. Virtual assistants. I met a guy named Daniel Ramsey recently that you can look at his website. It's called myoutdesk.com. But they have virtual assistants out of the Philippines. He's been doing this for like 12 years or something like that. And for probably a third or a fourth of the investment of doing some of the tasks that you must do in your business, they can take care of those. So I'm not saying send all of our jobs out of Arizona, but what I am saying is when you can get help with simple or repetitive tasks at a lower price point, maybe that helps you keep going, right? So anything you can do to keep the lights on and be creative in how you're pivoting and how you're being relevant to your audience in a new way. Okay. We all know every single company out there, especially if you're doing B2B services, B2B sales of any kind, all of those businesses they're scrutinizing where they spend every cent right now. And so you can't show up and say, remember how I do this thing for you and you pay me for that? Like you have to go to them and say, here's why I am so relevant to your business right now. Over all the other things competing for scarce resources, this thing that you need, I can provide for you, right? In a way that other people can't, maybe at a price point that other people can't, but it's recrafting your relevance in a space that got a lot more crowded for them because they're thinking very scarce. And so they're, the boundaries around spend have narrowed, and you gotta get your way back into that position. So that's where you have to do like the Timberlane company that went from shutters to producing personal protective equipment, right? It looked like a major pivot, but they didn't pivot their core competencies. They knew how to source material, they knew how to put it together, and they knew how to distribute it. That's their core. They just rearranged the Legos to build a different figure, right? So our business is like a little Lego figure, and it served really well until COVID came. And then it's like, oh, I gotta transform that thing. Maybe I take the same building blocks and build something new. But whatever the market needs, whatever is most relevant to the market today, we have to show them that we can provide that kind of value. All right, parting thought for you before we get into Q&A. You can't see it really well, but you can see that I wore a t-shirt, but on the front of this t-shirt, it says, "The best leaders build the best businesses." And now because of this slide, you know what it says on the back. Best businesses win. I invite you to look at yourself as a leader in a new way because of COVID, maybe even thanks to COVID, okay? If we're looking for positive lessons that we're getting out of this adversity, the best leaders build the best businesses. When you intentionally do the work of setting the vision, building the team to go achieve that vision, and securing fuel for growth, right? Those three roles that I told you at the beginning, you will create a best business. And whether there's a COVID, whether there's a natural disaster, whether there's an economic crisis, whatever you have to weather, right? Whatever storm you have to go through, if you've built one of those really healthy best businesses, you will win. You will come out of that. And so I'm inviting you to step into this leadership responsibility that you have to be a leader, a very intentional leader, to build a best business. I hope some of the ideas that I've shared with you will be useful for the ACA audience here. I'm offering 30 minutes to talk. If you need a thought partner, Diane, if you want to brainstorm more ideas, I am not a marketing expert. Okay, I am an expert when it comes to building your business intentionally, especially for the $1 million to 10 million range, that range. If you're below that, doesn't mean I won't talk to you, but I'm just being really clear. If you're in the $1 million range, like, we should definitely talk. I've been working in this space for years and years. I can help you. If you're below that and you're needing help with marketing and customer acquisition, I'm not a marketing expert, but I do have a lot of good general business sense and a lot of examples from the community I serve. We serve 7-figure businesses from around the globe. They fly into the Phoenix area to spend time with us because we know how to scale businesses really well. So I have examples. What I'm saying is I have examples from hundreds of those businesses that I can share with you, even if I'm not a marketing expert. All right. If you have important leadership moments or conversations that you have coming up, I can help you with that. Okay. So all you have to do to schedule some time with me is to get on this link. This little bit.ly link, Call with Brett, or you can just email me directly, brett@growwithelite.com. Okay, at the front of the call, I mentioned we did a whole series of calls. We focused those calls early on in this COVID crisis on managing cash and leading people. There's several recorded sessions. You probably don't need, the old PPP loan information stuff anymore. You'll see that we did that when it was relevant in real time. I know you guys have seen plenty of that. But several of these other topics you might find helpful. And so they're still out there. They're free resources. growwithelite.com/COVID. You might also see that we have several other resources available on our website at growwithelite.com, including a free ebook about what we call the Elite Business Growth Method. So that's really it for today. I don't have any other slides, Robert, but if anybody wants to get some time with me, they can grab a phone call with me, or you guys can email me. I'll put that back up here so you can have my email address. So I'm ready for Q&A or whatever we want to do to be of service to the community here, Robert.
All right, thank you, Brett. I appreciate that information. It was really good information. I was drawn in the whole time. What questions, attendees, what questions do you have for Brett? We have some time for some Q&A, so let's ask him some of these questions in ways you can help grow your business and attract those customers. So you can either use the chat or the Q&A box. Now, Brett, I have a question. What things did you have to tweak in your business? You're a small business. I know you're only a handful of employees. I've met your team.
Yeah.
As a small business in this environment, what did you do to adjust your business as things started to slow?
I'll share that. And I went to this view of the presentation so that I could just put the link in the chat. I saw somebody had requested that, so I'll just put the link in the chat. If anybody wants to call with me, they just click on that. So one of the things we did was a 2-day live workshop where we basically gave the playbook for how you build a scalable business. So this is how to set the vision. It's how to do the strategic planning and execution work in a rhythmic way in your business. It's how to hire and lead and fire to the vision. It's all the people and leadership development work, the strategy work, all the business building work after you get to $1 million in revenue. So we did these 2-day live workshops. They were awesome, but then COVID happened and those workshops went away. So we created instead of 2 days, we said, okay, how would we do that online? And so we created a 2-hour phone call, or excuse me, it's a Zoom call, but a 2-hour training session once a week for 4 weeks. And so over those 8 hours of session, we deliver all the same material as a 2-day workshop. We can't workshop with them live anymore. So we do coaching calls in between those 2-hour deliveries, right? So we do 2 hours of training and then coaching calls in between for people to do the work that we just trained. And then we train them some more to, coaching on the way. So we basically spread out what we did in 2 days over a month with people. And we were able to do that at a lower price point because, we weren't doing the venue and the full 2 days and all the rest. So we've been able to grow our customers during this time by presenting a new offer. And we had to think differently. I'm glad you asked this question. We had to think differently. We put together what we would call an irresistible offer. And we had to stack value, guys. All of us have to do this. How to take the value we used to deliver at a price that was really fair and say, how do we entice people to spend dollars that are really scarce right now? There's a mentality that says, I can't spend right now. I got to preserve as much cash as possible. Well, what you do is you have to make it irresistible. You have to say, usually you would get this for this kind of value or this kind of price. Here's the value exchange. It's still intact, but I'm going to make it even more enticing. And so we stacked a ton of value on that. And then we did things like money back guarantee. You have to take risk out of the equation for people. So great question. We took our live event, we spread it out over a longer time, but we were able to do that at a lower price point with more value stacked in and grow our business as a result.
Excellent, thank you. So attendees, what other questions do you have? I know we had some questions in the Q&A that we already went through with Diane. And Marie mentioned early on that she was from Prescott, so thank you, Marie, in the Q&A box. But what other questions are out there? I know we got to have some questions for Brett about your business.
I see the response or the comment from Diane from earlier that she said, we repurposed our receptionist to do outbound marketing. And she put, LOL behind that. But one of our customers is it's called Atlanta Compressor. They do sales, installation, maintenance for industrial size air compressor equipment. And so, you know, these are blue collar guys with wrenches, and they had the same challenge that you're talking about, Diane. How do we get in front of people? Well, they do every week. They do dedicated time. They call it their sales calls blitz, and every team member on the team, doesn't matter what role they're in, everybody's doing outbound calls. Everyone, to prospective customers, checking in. How can we serve you? Is there anything that you guys need? And through those efforts, they're drumming up some work. So I think it's creative, and we need to be doing stuff like that. So receptionists, it doesn't matter, whoever you have on your team, we're all in this together. Let's reach out, let's serve, let's find out what customers and prospects are needing.
You know, Brett, that makes me think of using Diane's example with the receptionist, and there's an LOL tied to it, but there's often people in our businesses that have skills that we just don't know about, that you may have an expert in social media because they're all over it in their personal life, and they can transition those skill sets to your business. And so in those huddles or brief meetings, you may reach out to your team and ask, you know, find out what some of those things are that they do that can apply and help, you know, expand their job role or help them gain some new skills and apply those skills in your business.
Agreed. Love it. Love it. And if you guys are leading well, and I know this webinar or this session wasn't about your leadership necessarily, but if you are helping people stay and be calm, right? And especially at the beginning of this whole mess, people were in a little bit of a panic, or certainly a lot of uncertainty, doubt, fear, I should say, and doubt. So they're like, what do we do? And the best leaders figured out how to calm them down and reassure them, and figured out how to engage their creative problem solving to move forward. And if you don't feel like you have an all-in team who's willing to take some of their personal abilities, you know, in social media, from Robert's example, and apply them to the business to help us move forward, then maybe we're not engaging them in the right way, or maybe they're not the right team members. But we need people who can be creative and go find the path, not just find it, but create the path forward. And you guys can do it. There's so much opportunity to be had out there right now. We just have to figure out, how do we take what we do well, even if they're hidden competencies, like Robert said, how do we uncover what we do really well and reconfigure that in a way that is relevant to the current needs in the market? You can do that. Okay, all of you can do it. There's no reason for us to just lay down and fold and say we're done for. We can find a way. If my friend Tammy, whose cruise business disappeared overnight, could find a way to take something they're really good at and launch a new thing, all of you can do it. Can do it. All right, what else?
That's all we've got for now. If there's no other questions, I don't mind giving everybody 5 minutes back on their day. If they're like me, it's probably an opportunity for a little break between the next Zoom call. But we definitely want to thank all of you for attending. We appreciate your time for joining us this morning to learn a little bit more about our businesses and how we can do different things differently and learn from those examples that Brett shared with us. So Brett, to wrap up, I just want to see if you have any closing thoughts, and we will wrap up this session.
Great. Yeah, I do have a closing thought. It kind of goes along with what I was just saying, but the people in the world to go figure it out are the people here, right? The entrepreneurs of our city, of our state. These are the ones who are going to take us forward. Nobody else is going to figure it out. I promise. The larger businesses full of employees, no disrespect, they do a great service to our community. Larger communities or larger businesses have their place, but you are the ones who are going to go figure out how to create something new, how to serve the market in a different way. You're nimble, you're resourceful, you got a lot of grit. That's what it takes. And so my hat's just off to all of you. Start your business. This is kind of the same thing. How do we restart it? And the good news is you're not starting from scratch. You have some proven capabilities. You have some strengths. Now we just got to figure out the right configuration of those things, maybe add another piece or two, and go forward to meet a new need out there.
Excellent. Thank you, Brett. Great way to wrap this up. We appreciate everybody being here. We look forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday, 9 a.m. And we'll see you then. Everybody have a great Labor Day weekend and be safe. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.